Previously on Ballz.co.za.
We talked to world famous referee Jonathan Kaplan. Morning, Jono.
Morning, Bladez. How's the weekend for you, bud?
Yeah, good. It was busy. You know, I was down in Kimberley on Friday night, and then I was at Kess yesterday. Not yesterday, on Saturday, and then had a very nice old schoolmate's birthday party yesterday. So, yeah, it was a busy weekend. 5,000 people.
How good are Griquas, eh?
Griquas were
small union, fifth time they've won the Vodacom Cup or whatever it's called nowadays. I think that's an amazing achievement.
Yeah, and, you know, they have been, the death knell of the Lions in Kimberley.
I actually reffed the first Vodacom Cup final when they assembled that team under Mark Croft.
97.
They beat the Lions. Yeah, it was 97.
57-0.
That's the one. Jeez, Bladez, an old fella.
I commentated it. And funnily enough, you know, I have all my commentary books from going back to 1988. And I have every single game that I have commentated.
I think there's a book coming, eh?
On record.
It's coming on. A Bladez book.
No, well, I've already written a book.
Yeah, but a proper one.
It's sexily named.
What's it called, Bladez?
I'm available. Don't tell me you haven't read it.
No, you're going to have to present me. I'll give you a signed copy of mine and you give me one of yours.
I don't have any left. And
sold out. How good was that book?
Sold out. And it was about 7 years ago. 7 or 8 years ago. And unfortunately, the publishing house that coerced me into writing the book, and wrongfully, I actually did most of the writing. I should have got a ghost, or the publishers should have got a journalist to write it. But anyway, it sold out. But unfortunately, the publishing company was actually owned by an accountant, and he closed it down. I think publishing companies, you know, with the computerization and everything like that, are finding it a little bit difficult. Anyway, that's my situation. Jono, what are we talking about today on our weekend's results?
Okay, so I think, Bladez, I think I'd like to start off on a massive positive. I think there were two refereeing performances which were pretty much standout for this weekend. One by a very senior referee and one by quite a junior one, which I thought were outstanding, given the controversy that has persisted over the past few weeks and months. And the first one was in the first game between the Hurricanes and the Highlanders. I thought Jaco Paper was outstanding. I know that there weren't many tries. There was only one try in the game, but it was a typical New Zealand derby. They closed down the spaces. I thought there was a lot of action coast to coast and a lot of go forward, but the defense was outstanding of both teams. And, ultimately I was looking for a performance filled with understanding of not just the basics of the game, but what each team was trying to achieve, and also accuracy on match day. And I thought Jaco Paper was outstanding. There was what I believe to be a controversial TMO decision again, in the scoring of Perinara's try, where the TMO ruled that the ball had been knocked backwards, which I find difficult stroke impossible to believe. But nevertheless, I do think that was a high-class refereeing performance, and ultimately the team that deserved to win the game ended up winning it in any case. So big hats off to Jaco Paper. And then we can talk about that game, but we can skip to a few games down the track between the Cheetahs and the Brumbies in a game ref by Marius van der Westhuizen, who is still, he's learning the ropes at this level, and he's made some errors, going through. But he really is refereeing exceptionally well for someone, in his first season. He did the Lions Crusaders in the first game at Coca-Cola Park, and then he's done this game in Free State in Bloemfontein, and I thought his performance was composed. I thought it was accurate. He rewarded dominance, and he wasn't afraid to dish out a yellow card for cynical infringements, which I thought is a step up from what we've been used to from the referees over the last few weeks. He did it crucially in the first few minutes of the game, which set the tone for the rest of the game, and we had a pretty decent game of rugby to watch. So I thought, I think great credit should go to those two, not because they're South Africans, actually, just because they were standout performances in all the matches that I've watched over the last few weeks.
Great. Just to get back to that Griquas game for one moment,
Yes.
I thought Jaco van Heerden refereed very well.
He did. Jaco van Heerden he's one of these up-and-coming referees. For a long time I thought that he had the right stuff. Physically, he's a pretty good specimen, and I think his biggest issue was just trying to relax into games, and I think he's getting towards that. He's still a little bit tight and stiff, but I thought it was a very good performance. And ultimately, what I liked about Jaco's performance is that he allowed the players to decide who was going to win the game. And we give great credit to Griquas and their coaching staff, and the team and the way that they play for that jersey, which is awesome to watch. It's like typically South African platteland, and I love it. I love watching it. But I think Russell Winter and his young guns also deserve a hell of a lot of credit, because in effect they're playing with a team that is always decimated by call-ups to the Lions Super Rugby team, and I think he's done a great job. I remember reffing Russell Winter as a player. He was a very intelligent player, and I think he's done a great job with the Lions young guns to get them that far, to go through all the way through to the final. And unfortunately, for them, they fell a bit short, but it is difficult for any team to go to Kimberley and win. So I thought they put up a really good performance.
That's good. Yeah, in fact, Russell Winter played number 8 in the game. You refereed 57-0.
Was he? That's interesting.
Yeah, he was the number 8. The day when Kgafi du Toit played himself into the Springbok side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who was the scrum half for the Lions?
The scrum half for the Lions was Johnny Roux.
100%. Bladez, you've got a memory like an elephant. I remember that because I remember thinking that the Lions team of 97 had quite a few Springboks in their team, and they were playing against an up-and-coming Griquas team, and no one really knew. I mean, Griquas, I think, were the favourites, but no one really knew if they could handle the pressure of playing against all these Springboks. And, they did it pretty emphatically.
Yeah, they did. David Thron was in the front row for Griquas, and I remember Phyllis Smith and Albert van den Berg. Funnily enough, you asked me who was scrum half for the Lions. The scrum half for the Griquas was Hakkies Husselman, and he got replaced by Dave van Heeselen.
David van Heeselen, yeah. And Robert Markram, they had an unbelievable team. I mean, they really had put together, for Andre Markram is pretty much. I mean, he's done obviously very well in the commercial world, but he was an outstanding coach, and more than that, he actually sourced players who were up and coming, who were going to make it in the world of rugby. And if you look at a lot of that team, actually went on to, to much greater things, as you pointed out with Kgafi.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Jono,
right.
What was your next game?
I think the next game was the Crusaders Sharks game.
That's the one everybody's talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, I think from a South African perspective, and I think probably from a neutral perspective, I mean, people were quite impressed with the way that the Sharks coped with the Crusaders machine and did it with 14 players on the field. And I've got a little bit of commentary on that particular incident.
Yeah.
There's no question that you cannot stand on a player's head, no matter what he's done to you, to attract that type of anger. But having said that, and I'm fully supportive of the decision to give a red card, and unfortunately, I think Duisel's going to sit out for a while. And that's deserving. Whether you're a Shark supporter or not, you've got to acknowledge that wasn't the greatest moment in his illustrious career. However, the player that held him back received no sanction at all, and for me, that's not good enough. Why?
Good point. Well done, Jono, because I've got 2 tweets from guys who have made that point, and we'll pick up on that just a moment, because these are the guys we rely on Ballz Radio, for their interest and them tweeting us. So I must pick up on that, but that's a very good point. Continue.
Yeah. So, and the reason is, and I've highlighted this on previous programs as well. When the Crusaders, same team, played against the Stormers, Jean de Villiers went to the same referee, by the way, Rowan Hoffman, and asked him repeatedly what he should do about the opposition holding his players back. And I think Hoffman actually picked up one and dealt with it very effectively in the beginning of the game with Skalkberger, who was being held back and then tried to release. And he awarded a penalty to the Stormers. But there were at least another 6 of those that weren't picked up in that game. Sometimes when the Crusaders were hot on attack and basically some of their players were actually tackling some of the Stormers defenders out of the road. I remarked on it at the time, and I said it's not a problem which is just endemic to the Crusaders team. There are many other teams that employ those type of tactics, particularly on attack. And, I just think it is a problem that's developed in the Southern Hemisphere, and it's reaching epidemic proportions because games are being won and lost by those type of tactics.
Yeah.
And I just think the referees are either not prepared. So in other words, they need to be, they need to be coached to deal with this matter. But, and I'm not sure that they're getting that coaching to be able to look up and see what's happening beyond the ball. I know it is a difficult thing and it's a departure from what they used to, but it is something that is now part of the game, and they need to upskill themselves because, like I said, games are being won and lost. And in this particular case, I have sympathy for Jean Deysel for what he did. Not ultimately, I think he should get whatever he deserves in respect of sanction, but I have sympathy for why he reacted, not how he reacted, but why he reacted.
Right.
And so I believe that player should have got a yellow card, and every single player who does something similar should get yellow cards every single time. You should not be waiting for the 3rd, 4th, or 5th infringement to dish out the yellow. Why? Because players are doing it because the sanction doesn't meet the crime, and so they're prepared to take that risk. Whereas if you give the sanction early on in the game, yellow card, let's see how many of them still do it.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Sorry, just to go back to the Stormers, that was a game the Stormers should have won against the Crusaders, and they ended up losing it. And I believe they lost it on the back of a lot of this holding back. And, I really do think Jean de Villiers is an exceptional captain.
Yeah.
But he showed such restraint with the referee who wasn't dealing with this matter effectively. And similarly, you had an incident. It's not just, from the Stormers to the Sharks. I think this happens week in and week out. Yeah. And I pointed it out in a different game with a different referee, also a senior referee, between the Stormers and the Reds, where Nizam Kar was pinned against the post for a couple of seconds before he was allowed to be freed up. And when he eventually took up his post under the poles, the Reds went and scored a try, and that was 7 points. It should have been a penalty and a yellow card to the Stormers on their try line, and ultimately the Reds got the 7 points, which ended up helping them to win the game. And I'm very, very hot on this, Bladez. I'm very strong on it. I mention it week in and week out, exactly the same thing. Nothing is apparently being done about it on the field. I know Linden is at pains to point this out to the referees. He does it on a weekly basis. I'm not sure that they're dealing with this effectively.
Okay. You've made your point very strongly, and I think that Duncan Bettridge and Tace Brits both saying, well, let's take Tace Brits. He said, Ref JK, I'm hoping the guy from Crusaders will get off-field yellow for forcing Jean Deysel to rip himself free. And Jean cleared. We both don't think that will happen, Tacey, but I think Jonathan's covered your point. Also, Duncan Bettridge says, morning, Ref JK. How are you?
World class, buddy.
I know Dayston is going to get banned, but players holding on to other players should be looked at. So there we are, guys, and Jonathan has handled that for you, I'm sure, in the way, what you have intimated in your tweets. Okay, Jono, let's carry on.
Yeah, so we carry on in the same. Look, I mean, I think there's a few incidents in the Sharks game which, I didn't feel Rowan Hoffman had a